Hi, my name is Wayne Beals. I'm a real estate broker here in the Chicago market, and I'm here to share with you my predictions for the 2023 real estate market. So I think the one thing that is definitely going to be a challenge this year is inventory. Nobody has an incentive to sell their home right now. If you own a house and you bought it maybe in the last couple of years, maybe 10 years ago, maybe longer, chances are, if you do have a mortgage, that your interest rate is somewhere between 2 to 4%. If you sell that home and you need a mortgage to buy your next home, your interest rate is going to be somewhere between 6 to 7%. And there's just not a lot of people who are going to do that. There's just not a lot of economic incentive to do that. Now, I believe supply is going to be a challenge because of that. We are seeing a decline in buyer demand. So the amount of people that can actually purchase a home with the current interest rates has diminished a bit. But I believe supply is going to diminish more. So we may actually see a flat market to potentially a rising market this year because of those supply issues. The second prediction I'm going to make: who is going to supply the market? Empty nesters are going to sell this year. This is the year that they sell. Empty nesters have a lot of equity. They've probably been paying off their mortgage for years and years. So if they've got a lot of cash and equity wrapped up in their existing home, they can sell that home in a limited supply market and buy cash in a market that is maybe a little more favorable to buyers. Those buyers typically would have moved downtown during the pandemic. So if you turn your mind's eye back to March of 2020, these empty nesters decided, hey, you know what? I've got a great backyard. I've got a nice community. I've got a low mortgage payment. I'm staying right here during this pandemic. It's what I know. I don't want to move downtown with all those icky elevator buttons. So I believe that the empty nesters are really who are going to supply our market. And we may see some increased demand in the downtown market, near downtown, where all the culture activities pick back up. We are vaccinated now. There are treatments for COVID, so a lot of folks are coming back into the city center. We know that entertainment's back, dining's back. So I think the attraction of moving downtown is starting to return. And so we may see a lot of those folks go back to their original plan to go back downtown and sell their large suburban home that they don't need anymore. Speaking of which, move up buyers, the buyers for that large suburban home. So these are buyers that are going to be selling a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo downtown. They're going to be selling a smaller home in the city. They're going to be selling a 2-flat in the city somewhere. These sellers are going to be looking for large homes in great school districts. There's a lot of recession talk out there, and whether or not you believe one is coming or not, just the mention of it makes people sort of prepare. One of the things people do when there's a recession looming is they try to hedge on their expenses. So if you think about it, a lot of folks that are in the city, they send their kids to private school. Those private school tuition bills are really high. They're not very affordable. And if there's a recession, your ability to pay that tuition bill might be questionable. So moving into a good school district's really an attractive hedge for some of those folks. So I think you're going to see a lot of demand for homes inside great school districts. I think that's going to continue throughout this year. Third prediction: the move up buyer. This is a buyer with a much more complicated economic life. So their options are sell my current place with my ultra low mortgage and then buy a new, more expensive place with a much higher interest rate. So maybe your payment's going to double, maybe even triple in some cases, depending on the tax bill. Those buyers don't have a lot of incentive to let go of their 2-bed, 2-bath condo in South Loop, right? They maybe just had their second child in this 2-bedroom condo and they're going out and buying bunk beds. They're not trying to move up right now. They're not buying that bungalow in Oak Park. And so I think you're going to see that part of the market shift a little bit. So prediction number 1, inventory is going to be a problem. Prediction number 2, empty nesters are going to supply the market. And prediction number 3, the move up buyer is out. Prediction number 4, rehab loans are back. If you were trying to buy a home with a renovation loan in the last couple of years, you could get no traction. No renovation loans. Let's talk a little bit about what they are. They're a loan that allows you to do a purchase and rehab on one loan. They're more complicated to underwrite. There's a bigger failure rate. They cost a little bit more, but they do allow home buyers to buy that home that maybe needs some updating and make renovations to that home all in one shot. That's the beauty of the purchase mortgage. So what's the problem with this mortgage? If you're a buyer, right, you're probably sitting there going, well, what's the problem with that? Well, sellers don't like them. If they take longer to close, if buyers fail to close a lot of times because maybe they're trying to overspend on their renovations and the appraisal doesn't work out, well, the seller's kind of left holding the bag. So sellers would rather deal with buyers with less complex financing. And so over the past few years, with the number of contracts that are out there, last year you'd put a place on the market, you'd have 2, 3, 5, 10 offers within 24 hours. It was a matter of choosing the right offer for a seller there, and they had their options. Now the market's a little slower. Maybe it takes 90 days, maybe it takes 120 days to get your property sold. And when market times like that, sellers have to be more engaging. They have to listen to buyers that maybe they would ordinarily just dismiss. So I believe the rehab loans are going to be back. Buyers are going to not love the dated kitchens they're going to see from empty nesters, and they're going to want to do some updates to them, and they're going to want to make that all one transaction. They're going to want to make that a purchase and rehab loan. So my fifth prediction, prices will be flat to slightly increasing. And I know that's going out on a limb a little bit, but I see demand tipping down slightly. So the number of people who can still buy a home given the higher interest rates has diminished a little bit, and that's tempered demand. There's still a lot of demand out there. When we do an open house, we see a lot of buyers looking for houses. They're just trying to figure out how and where. Now, on the other side of that equation, there's not a lot of sellers. And so because inventory is sort of naturally hedged, the higher the interest rate goes, the less inventory that appears because of that dilemma of existing mortgages being low. You're just going to see likely a attenuation of growth. So you're not going to see prices fall as much as you're just going to see them stop rising. So I believe by the end of this year, we're going to be looking at a flat to slightly increasing market. And that is my prediction for 2023. Now, I would love to be your realtor. If you have any questions, all real estate is local, so let's take a deep dive into the data in your market area and where you're considering transacting. I am happy to help. I'm an expert. Look forward to talking with you. Like my video, and please subscribe to my channel.